All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully we'll have a few people joining via Zoom. May have some more walk in, but we'll go ahead and get started with today's lesson. Today is leading through change, and subtitle, inspiring people through purpose. So today I'm going to probably take a little different approach to change, because most of the time when you hear the word change, especially in an organization, you don't think about people. You tend to think about numbers and figures and different things like that. But to start the class, I'll ask you a question. Do you need to change?
Oh, yeah. Yes. All the time. Every day.
Yeah. So when you need to change, what's your thought process?
Oh, like,
Why do you need
get
to
your mind right?
get your mind right? I mean, but think about it. Why do you need to change? I mean, because what's one of the things that you hear all the time? People hate what? Change. People fear change. All of these things. And so there's always, in an organization, there's a negativity around change. But I just asked you all the question, do you need to change? And you said, yes, all the time. Why wouldn't I? I mean, well, an organization is what?
People.
Just a bunch of people working together to accomplish a goal or a mission. So if you need to change or feel that you need to change continuously, wouldn't it make sense that an organization would have a similar path? So why do we not feel the same way about that change? And it's probably as much about mindset and perception and things like that as it is anything. And most of the time it's the way it's communicated and how it's presented and what's in it for me and all the questions. So I'm going to try to address all of those different angles. And I'm going to use I like to try to make things easy. I'm not using the same letter on each word today, but I'm using the ABCs. So it'll be in this ascending order, starting with A, and we won't go through Z. So everybody relax, thinking, "Oh my God!" And somebody thought, "What word is he gonna say with X?" Exit. No, just kidding. Which is what most people think about when they think of change, right? Am I about to lose my job? Who's going to lose your job? So there's a lot of things that go into why change happens. But the reality of it is we're going to talk about leading through change, inspiring people through purpose. And what I want you to think about is just how if you associate change with people, how different you will communicate it, how different you will feel about it yourself, how different it will be adopted. And if I miss anything or you have a question, please don't hesitate to stop me, ask questions. I don't have I have things I want to cover, but my purpose is for you to grow and learn. And if you've been a part of this credit union, you know for what? The fact that change is a part of life. And if you struggle with change, then it's going to be a hard place to work. But if we as leaders can do a better job of communicating change and sharing change and leading through change, it'll also help our organization in the adoption of it and help anyone's organization that may be looking through change. A is awareness of change. Awareness of change. Now, I'm, of course, doing a play on words. Awareness of change is about sharing the vision. All right, sharing the vision. When it comes to change, if I walked in today and said, "Hey, tomorrow, all of you will be moved and working in a place that's 50 to 60 miles from your current reporting location." Even if the change may be better, even if I start off with that, but and end it with that. And I tell you that today and say, oh, by the way, report there tomorrow. I made you aware of the change. I told you that the change is going to be better. And watch this. And I'm going to give you a 50% raise.
There we go.
But you still will walk away, even though that 50% raise helps to alleviate some of it. What do you leave out of here doing? Oh my God. Well, if I have to leave 50, 60 miles, what do I have to change? And who's going to pick up my kids? And who's going to be, what about what I had planned for tomorrow? So now I've created all of this chaos because of when I made you aware of change. So the awareness of change, you as a leader, it's mission critical that you communicate with your team as soon as possible what's possible. Sometimes you can't communicate everything. Sometimes you just simply can't. But what if you're on the other side of receiving that change immediately? How do you handle it? Well, you handle it by taking a deep breath, right? And then simply asking the questions. Don't panic. I mean, because if the change is happening tomorrow, is panic going to do anything? No. So what do you need to do? You need to now begin to ask questions about when, what, how, why, and all that, and then get answers before you jump off the deep end. So, but as a leader, and talking to most of you guys as leaders here today versus the one receiving it, be aware, what are some of those things? Communicate change as early as possible, as often as possible, concise as possible, and clear as possible. Make your people aware. And it will help. It doesn't solve all of the problems because some people are just change averse. They are just change averse. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how big a change is or how small it, that's just their personality. But you as a leader, when you have multiple people, if I told you, I started that conversation off and said, hey, everybody that came to training today gets a 50% raise. You feel like, and that's where I start the conversation. How many of you feel good now? All right. So, and then I talk about this raise and I say, hey, this is for the better. And as a matter of fact, I'm only give you a 4-day work week. Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, everybody liking me now. And I'm going to bump up your 401k. And I'm going to give you a loyalty bonus because you're awesome. And the only negative is you're going to have to work 50 to 60 miles away. That 50 to 60 miles now seems different than, hey, you're going to start off 50 to 60 miles away. But what I did was, before I brought that up, I could have built what? Do y'all think this is a good idea? I could have built some consensus around it just in the way I presented it. And then we only have to have what? Instead of having everything fall negative behind the 50, 60 miles, everything would have built up positive. And then you'd have been like, okay, how can I make that 50 to 60 miles work? Versus, man, here they go again, right? So your next goal is build consensus. Work to get people on the same page. And consensus does not necessarily mean complete agreement, right? One of the things I do is in leadership as a pastor, I tell them we will be in consensus. We may not all agree, but when we leave, whatever we decide, we decide. Now, it may be 5 of us that want it, 2 of us that don't. But ultimately, we're going to go with what? The 5. So I can build consensus. I can build agreement, but it doesn't mean that everybody, you're looking for uniformity, you're looking for unity, and unity takes into account everybody's differences and everybody's opinions. We're living in a society today that tries to drive toward uniformity. where there's no difference of opinion. There's not any separation between what you think and I think. We all look homogenous, the same, and that's not unity. Uniformity is we all look the same. We all walk the same, talk the same, and that's not how you lead, because what will happen in that scenario is people will not bring their ideas and their differences to the table.
So they can't hear on Zoom.
Did I press that button?
It's on Facebook. And it says it's on mute.
Man, should have bumped you.
Can they hear now?
Oh,
Michelle would have had a better conversation with you before the corporate wear announcement.
Uniform.
Can I go back in time?
Can they hear? Can you guys hear?
the audio is working on everywhere else. I'm gonna join it on Zoom and see.
Should have led with free clothes.
Yeah, less decision making. Less time when you're getting ready in the morning. Put this one together.
Well, I mean,
It says the host is not in the meeting yet. It doesn't even show you in the meeting.
Yeah, I just had somebody from Homewood ask if the edits had started yet.
And that means that I'm gonna have to go back and repeat everything. Y'all okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
I think whatever link they have is not the link that you have.
How do I send this link to everybody? Is it?
I think I heard that we're all getting 50%
Loyal, I like a loyalty bonus.
Yeah, so we're the only ones that heard that.
And
yeah, they
work with it.
I'd rather they have a different link.
They started talking about. I was gonna say, hey, that's
Small
supposed to be.
link,
Loyalty
and go to.
Find the email, whatever they're using. I don't know where they got their link from.
It's not gonna be. Here we go, right here. How do I copy a link? Copy invite link. And don't y'all love technology?
And it works.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna
I
send.
can do this. I mean, if you literally just want to use my phone while they're all on.
You think it's copy the invite link? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, and then I'm gonna go to send email.
Yeah, we have you so you can say something to them.
Yeah. Like sitting, I can't figure it out. I don't.
Hey guys, I'm getting ready to resend a link out. Undoubtedly, somehow, or ended up being a different link. But let's see if this works.
I always tell people I'm all the technological like Zoom is. I'm not good at it. I'm just not.
We had to use Teams, we use Teams a lot, but all of ours had
Yeah, I had no interest in it until we started using it with ambassadors. And then Tracy came in and said.
All right.
she used to use it.
See if that link.
That's all I use it for currently. It's just.
See if the link that I just sent out allows you guys to join back in. And for those of you who may be out there on the rest of the world, we'll be back in just a moment. So let's go back to that.
They're leaving, so I think they're joining.
Huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So
The new link worked.
Jessica said that they could do it for just a moment anyway.
Well, that was, we were doing something
Yeah.
different, but they should have a new link. They should have a new link. Go back to the email and check the link.
Go back to your email and check them out. You guys have them.
Yeah, everybody's joining now. Huh?
Yep, cool.
Well, it's
All right.
still 10.
It's, everybody's coming in. Somehow it,
They're all coming in.
the link that I sent and the one that Zoom opened when I clicked on it was two different links. So for all of you who are out there in the Facebook world and YouTube world and all of those worlds out there that's also joining in, we apologize for that, but we want to make sure that we have all the audience. I'll give it about a minute or so and make sure everybody's joined. We had 8 on the other one. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there we go. All right. Hey, they say you take 7 times to hear a message. So all of you that were here, I'm going to give you a quick rundown synopsis to everybody that just joined in. We're talking about change. We're talking about change from a little different perspective. We're talking about change from the aspect of inspiring people. So today's lesson is leading through change, inspiring people through purpose. And the question I ask up front, do you need to change? Do you need to change? And of course, here everybody say, yes, we need to change. We need to change all the time. And so the question then becomes, if we feel like we need to change, an organization is just made up of us. And so if we need to change continually and consistently, so should our organization. And the way I presented it just a moment ago was, if you happen to be a person who hears that you're going to have to move and work 50 to 60 miles away from home, and you hear that up front, then it doesn't matter what really comes after that. I could come back and I tell you that goes into effect on tomorrow. You'll be like, hey, whoa, that's just too much. It's too much change, and I'm not ready to deal with it. But if I presented it in a different way, in the sense that I'm going to give you a huge bonus, 50% raise, I'm going to give you early retirement, I'm going to give you extra vacation days, I'm going to make you VP, president, whatever, and then tell you have to move, you accept that change a little different. And so as we go through the rest of the class, we'll be kind of using that backdrop of if you take into account leadership by dealing with people and not with numbers and processes and things like that, you take time to do that, then you'll be much more effective. Guys, I'm using the ABCs. The first A was what? To those who are already here?
Awareness.
Awareness, right? Awareness. And awareness of change, or present the vision for the change. If you make me aware of the change, how early you make me aware of it impacts how I feel about it. How much of the vision you give me makes me feel more accepting of the change. So that awareness is not just the when, but it's the when, it's the where, it's the how, and it's the how often, and it gives me a chance to process. If I give you a change and say it happens tomorrow, you don't have time to process it. So you begin to have a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. If I give you time to process it by making you aware of it, then what happens? It helps you totally. What about this? And I didn't share this even earlier. Guys, what if I share with you a change, but I only talk about what it's going to do for the company?
What's in it for me?
Right.
Huh?
What's in it for me?
Yeah. So that's why, but most people present change with rational thought, rational numbers, and this makes sense and all of that. And so even though they're right in their change, if you don't think about the people side of it, it makes it very difficult. And that's why we want to learn to lead through change. And our organization has numerous changes coming, and they're not slowing down at any time. But it can't just be about the numbers. It has to be about the people. Communicate change, communicate it early, communicate it often, communicate what you can, when you can. That doesn't mean, because sometimes you don't need to communicate all the change. Sometimes there's change coming and you shouldn't share everything. But the earlier you get into that process, the more you think about that process, the better it's going to be. So that's A. The second thing is build consensus. Build consensus. Consensus is not what? It's not
Uniform.
necessarily it's not necessarily unity, and it's not necessarily complete agreement, right? You can have consensus but not have complete agreement. The consensus national champion means that most people agree that that's the best team. A unanimous champion means that everyone agrees. And we sometimes try to get to unanimous when we're getting ready to implement change, but that's not the goal. You cannot lead that way. As a matter of fact, we're going through a project at my church, and I had someone say, well, you need to bring in a sample and let everybody see it so we can get agreement. I said, it's too many variables. You'll never get agreement. Because if they like it, or who do I invite? Do I invite everybody? Do I invite the people you determine? No. So that's not the goal, is to get everybody to agree. The goal is to have consensus with where you're going and where you're leading. So make sure you understand the difference between unity and uniformity. Uniform means that we all dress the same. And in the sports world, it's kind of funny how people have such pet peeves. When I was growing up, a basketball team all wore the same uniform, meaning they all dressed the same and they all wore the same shoes. And you couldn't have all these different. Now everybody wears their own shoes. And there was people who went off. Oh my God, they don't have the same shoes on. Well, what's to say that the same pair of shoes fit each person's foot the same, and you actually may have had guys who were not very good in that pair of shoes because they hurt his feet. His feet was wider than everybody else's, and the shoe was made narrow. So it would be okay in that scenario to have consensus. This is our team shoe, but if you wear this range of shoes, you're okay too. That's the way you need to make decisions in organization. Not everything fits every scenario. Corporate wear, not everybody. If we came out for uniform, we'd have had one option. And everybody had the same thing, right? We're trying to be, the unity we're trying to get is we're trying to create an image, one image, not one look, one image, and there's a difference. We're trying to create, if people see Alabama 1 as forward facing, man, I feel this way about their employees. That's the goal of corporate wear. The goal isn't for everybody to like every piece and everybody to look the same, dress the same, walk the same, talk the same, right? But it is about our members having a similar feeling or experience when they walk in. That makes sense? All right. Any questions, comments, or anything at this point? All right. C is connect to purpose. Connect to purpose. How many times have someone shared change with you and you go, huh? What about this? So what? Anybody ever have those so what moments when somebody, they're excited, man. Woo! We're going to change the world, and they're going through it, and they're telling you about it. And when they finish, you're like, so what? But to them, it's absolutely perfect. It totally makes sense. Why? Because they understand and they've connected the change to their purpose. But they didn't connect the change to your purpose. And so what happens is if I don't connect the change to your purpose and my purpose and kind of make us all fit together, then we end up with this change goes in, the change goes in, and it's implemented about 3 or 4 different ways. And people like, the person who was like, dang, but that wasn't my goal. Well, what was your North Star? Anybody know what that means? What's your North Star? North Star doesn't change. It's right there. And everybody ultimately is to feed back into that North Star. And you as a person who are leading or communicating change, you have to take the time before you roll it out. You have to think, okay, what's possibly, if I all of a sudden say, hey, I think we can roll out this new app because it'll sell more mortgages because someone else did that in
Tennessee. That may be great in Tennessee, but what if Tennessee only has an online model? What if they only have an online model? Then of course an app would make sense, right? And they would sell more, but their more may be 5. You may have a in-person model and an app wouldn't do anything for you. And more may not necessarily quantitatively mean anything to you. So you have to make sure you connect it to the purpose of whoever the change is impacting and relating to. All right. So what's the North Star? What is the ultimate goal, vision, and consistent point? D is develop the early adapters. How many of you have ever heard of the law of diffusion? Okay, the law of diffusion, and I don't have all of the exact percentages, but it's 2 to 3, maybe 4% are like the innovators of the world. It's like a bell curve, and it has, I think it's about 4 or 5 different piece parts. And the early part of it is like the innovators. That would be like the guys like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and those guys, 2-3% of the population. But then you have the early adopters, okay? That's that 13 to 15% range or whatever right there. And those are the people who, y'all seen them. Hey, it's a new movie coming out. So they'll go wait in line for 2 days to watch the new movie, right? I'll wait till what? When do you go see a new movie?
Subscription, Disney Plus.
So there used to be a time where you either went to the movies or you didn't, right? So that map used to be those who are like, man, I'm gonna have to try to find some way to pre-screen this thing, and they're like chaos. But then there's the other group that's like, okay, it's coming, it's Wednesday, it's coming out Thursday, I'm gonna be in line, waiting, camped out, whatever. And then there's the adopters, normal to late adopters, which makes up the rest of the part. That used to be you had to wait until it came out on VHS, right? And then there was those people that be like when it came out on TV in the rerun. Man, I ain't paying no money. I'm not going movies. I'm not going to sneak. I'm going to wait till it comes out. But guess what? Every change has those types of people. When you're leading people, there are some people in your group that you can share change with, and they will go, oh my God. And then they'll start thinking, we should do this. And they'll even become innovative and they will actually begin to have even greater ideas and give even more life to what you are doing. I mean, they will like help you even think through the change even more. Then there are those people who are like, oh, I like this. As soon as it's ready, boom, I'm going to start doing it. Then you have those who are like, okay, it's been tested. It looks like it works. I'm in. And then you'll have those who will go, just waiting on this to fail. I told them it wouldn't work. We'll see. And then they'll eventually say, okay. And about that time, you come out with your next change, right? But you have those people in your organization. Do you know who they are? And who they are many times changes based on what the change is. So you have to go through that process each time, but you have to develop them. Simon Sinek says about 15 to 18% of the population, when you get about 15 to 18% of the population, that's your tipping point for adoption. So if you come out with a new change, you don't need to get everybody. If you can get the innovator and the early adopter, then you can get almost everybody else in a reasonable amount of time. But what do we do when we try to do change? We try to get everybody. And you're trying to get Some of them, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how right it is. It doesn't matter how it's the best thing for. They're not going to do it until someone else has either tested it, tried and failed, or tested it, tried and succeeded. So identify your early adopters on each scenario each time. Any questions on that? E is the empowering nature of change. The empowering nature of change. Transformation. What happens about every calendar year?
What happens every calendar year?
Yeah, about every 12 months. What happens? New Year's resolution, right? Yeah, you're right. every year. And what happens? Is there anything magic about December 31st?
No.
It must be.
No.
Ask the gyms.
Good. Yeah.
The gyms, I mean, the gym, all they do is wait all year. They try to stay open all year just to get to December 31st.
Yeah.
Because they know that come January 1st, a bunch of people are going to go out. Because why? Because they're going to change. They're empowered. They're motivated. Man, hey, this is a year. I'm dropping weight. I'm getting back. They'll pull out that old picture from high school. They'll start looking at it, start getting motivated. They'll tell everybody, man, going to the gym 3 days in, 4 days in, week, woo, going to the gym. I'm telling everybody, right? I mean, just sharing, and other people will do what when they start doing it? Okay, you ain't gonna leave me. I'm going with you. Let's go. Boom. And then they'll go. But if you can fool around and get enough of them, what'll happen? They'll stick with it, right? They'll empower themselves, and then they'll empower others. And the next thing you know, momentum starts going. But let that motivated and that empowered all of a sudden say, man, it's a waste of time. About as fast as everybody started, about February 1st, when they had to make that next payment. And by the way, gyms do what? Annual memberships, right? So they have this space, and for 1 month out of the year, it's overcrowded. Rest of the time, if you ever join a new gym, don't join it in January because you may not like it. Join it at some other point, right? Right, but just the fact that if you decide to make change, it does empower you, right? When you decide, not when someone else decides, when you decide to make a change, and I pick New Year's, but it happens all throughout the year. When you decide, you feel empowered to do that. But why do you feel empowered to do that? What did we say? One of the biggest things in change is one 4-letter word. Fear. Fear. And what do we say? What do people ask the question, Kristen? Yeah. I'm asking, what's in it for me? When you start the change, what have you already answered? What's in it for me? Yeah, I'm going to lose weight because I want to get in that dress. I'm going to lose weight because I'm getting married. I'm going to lose weight because I want to be healthier. I'm going to do this because of this. Whatever it is, you've already answered the what's in it for me. Well, if that's what motivates people, how much more should you, as the leader who are sharing change, go ahead and answer that question? But what do we do most of the time when we're leading change? We share what the change is. We don't share what's in it for the people. We don't share. Listen, if you add more branches, that means more what? Work. And that's what most people think. You add more branches, you know what I think? That's more opportunity. It's a mindset, right? So, but if I present it as just we have more branches and don't answer to what's in it for you, then you see the change as a negative. Well, what if it's less branches? What if it's change? Change isn't always more. Sometimes change is less. So you have to be willing to walk through that. What's in it for me? We've changed some of our when we do some of the branches we do. And the first thing, as we look at First Bank, what do you think their biggest question is right now?
What's, yeah, themselves.
Yeah. So we're over here going, woo, maybe 5 more branches. We're going to the east side of the state. We're gonna, oh my God, we're gonna be big. And they're going, what does this mean for me? So we need to make sure that we're communicating. You're gonna have a place. You're gonna have this. Hey, what this is gonna mean is instead of you having to do all of this stuff and have 4 hats on, you're gonna have a complete mortgage department. You're gonna have a complete consumer support staff. You're gonna have opportunities to do commercial that you've never had. You're gonna have online banking. And guess what? All those people who coming in that go somewhere else and visit their kids somewhere else, when they come back to you now in Watley, Alabama, they're gonna be able to do some of the same things their kids telling them to do. And now you're gonna be able to better serve your members. Their experience is gonna go through the roof because you're joining our team and we're joining your team. You see what I'm saying? Because they're asking the question. So don't wait to answer the question. Go ahead and lead through change, meaning that you go ahead and answer the questions they're asking before they ask them. Craig Rochelle, who is one of my, people I listen to for leadership, for growth and stuff. And this is regarding temptation. He says, why? I love this. He says, why resist the temptation tomorrow that I can eliminate today? So why address a question tomorrow that will spread like cancer when you could address it up front? You could literally answer the question up front before they ever even have a chance. What emotion, that's E. F is next, and F is pretty easy, fear, right? Fear, the number one reason that most change fails is fear. Is this a true statement? People fear change. Everybody out there in the video land, is fear the number one reason that change fails? Yes or no? Yes? Everybody that says yes, raise your hand.
Is it the fear of fear?
Huh? Good.
Fear of failure.
Is it fear of failure?
Like I'm thinking that you're not gonna like this. Therefore,
You said sometimes in how you you mean even from the standpoint of I'm the person that's presenting it, yeah, and I'm afraid.
I know they're not gonna like this. So.
Oh, and that's not my point, but I will teach on that for a quick second. Your belief in something absolutely 100% impacts success.
Even though it's in a
doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. If you do not, anybody ever been in sales?
Uh-huh.
If you don't believe in your product, no one else is gonna believe in it. If you don't believe in the change and you're fearful of the change not being accepted, it's already doomed to fail unless you have some really, really strong innovators and early adopters. If you don't have that, it is doomed to fail without a doubt. So you're correct. That is part of it. So be confident when you make the change. If you go through these processes, these steps, then it makes it a lot easier. But fear is not the number one reason, even though I said it is.
Well, I would think, people can still change or be, they can still go through change, but be resistant to it, but still be afraid of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I would think resistance to change.
Resistance, that very good.
But you're right. Resistance to change is absolutely part of the reason it fails. And technically fear is, but the problem is, why are you fearful?
Yeah, no.
So is it fear? Are you afraid because you're fearful, or are you afraid because I didn't communicate? Because I didn't address your real issue? If I come up and say, we're gonna close 5 branches,
Sounds very negative.
yeah, and nobody knows which branches those are. What just happened? I put fear in them, right? Okay, what if I say we're gonna close 5 branches, but we're opening 10? That helps some, but what did I still not address?
What that-
Which branches? So now I have all of these people out there going, when are they gonna close my branch? Are they closing it because I'm not doing a good job? Or why are they changing what I do? So, but I could come around and say, closing 5 branches because those branches are old. We're gonna rebuild 5 branches in those exact same spots, and we're gonna add 5 more somewhere else. And none of you are gonna be without a job. As a matter of fact, you're gonna like working in this new branch a lot more because we're gonna have a lot more amenities, a lot more ability for you to serve your. You see what I'm saying? So it's not the fear of the change. It's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of what is that gonna do to me? What's gonna be the impact to me? How much is my world gonna change? How much am I gonna have to learn? I mean, you think you've been doing something your whole life a certain way, and all of a sudden someone comes along and says you're gonna have to stop doing it. Even if it's better, you still, what if I can't learn it? What if I can't, right? But even if they have a legit fear, what if there is a change that's gonna require you to learn something new? We went through that with conversion, right? There's gonna be some people potentially, and as we grow and merge, and accept that they're gonna have the potential to what? Have fear and not know whether they can learn it or not. So how do I do that? Hey, we're gonna give you all the resources. We're gonna train you. We're gonna walk you through it. You're gonna have everything you need. And just like when you started this software, you didn't know how to do it. And now you think, oh my God, how am I gonna live without it? Those of you who were here when that change came, you did the same thing you're doing now, right? You take them back through history. You show them that they have been successful before, and that every I messed with Bradley about worship, you know, like because now you have these contemporary worship leaders, right? And the contemporary worship leaders need to understand that when they rolled out the hymns and the things that we now call traditional, when they rolled them out, when John Wesley and Charles Wesley, when they started rolling those out, they were like, y'all are just not reverent of God enough. They were called the contemporary. And I tell Bradley, I said, Bradley, it's gonna come a day, because he makes fun of me being an old guy. I said, it's gonna come a day when one of these little young bucks gonna come up and say, man, that's old. We need some contemporary stuff, right? Every change, when it's coming out, it's really this big, bad, scary thing. But the reality of it is, every change that's happened over time went through the same process. And if you don't address the real issues, not the fear, don't nullify what they're saying, figure out what they're saying. Figure out why they are resistant. If you're convinced that it's gonna make things better for them, figure out how to communicate that to them. Okay, all right. Any questions on that? Now this next one is a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And if you kind of follow, you can see how these kind of flow from one to the next. If I'm fearful of change, a lot of times that's because I have a fixed mindset. I've already learned this. I've already been through this change. I know what I'm doing. Why are you messing me up? All right, why are you messing with me? This works. Why are you wanting to change that? You have a fixed, this is a moment in time mindset when it comes to change versus a continual growth mindset. A growth mindset is one that says, what can we do better? What do we need to be working on to improve? And I use it, and I love this quote, and I use it quite often from Coach Saban, one of my favorites of his. He says that we will pursue perfection. And in pursuing perfection, we might just catch excellence. He knows perfection is not attainable, right? But he also knows that if I pursue average and I miss it, I'm below average. If I pursue good and I miss it, then I'm average. If I pursue greatness and I miss it, I'm just good. But if I pursue perfection and miss it, I'm excellent. Old Corny saying, if you aim for the moon, you're still amongst the stars, right? So what good does it do to set a goal here or be here in your member experience and how you handle calls and how you handle mortgages and how you run member service and how you run all of the different areas of your organization and you continually hitting this goal? I mean, and actually you're going over it. But what if your goal was here and you were coming up here? You're missing the goal, but you're still better off than this person that hits their goal and actually exceeding their goal. But you can't get to that with a fixed mindset. Fixed mindset says, this is the way we've done it. This is the way we've always done it. This is work. That's the way we're going to do it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. Which is crazy. Sometimes you have to create a culture of continual learning is what that means. They talked, when I was doing some research on this, the guy that was giving a talk said that, I can't remember the executive's name, but he came into Apple. And when he came to Apple, he actually, the whole mindset was they wanted to be the smartest one in the room. So if they got to the room, it was always about being the smartest in the room. And the smartest in the room, when you have that mindset, wants to do what? Talk, lead, be the one saying it. They don't want to listen. They want you to know. He said they had created an environment where when they went to a meeting, the goal was to tell everybody in the meeting how much they knew. And he said, this new guy comes in and says, no, guys, we need a living, breathing, non-siloed approach to growth and creativity. So we need to make sure that everybody feels included and a part of it. And so his thing was, we go into the meeting and we listen and we learn and we bring everybody else into the conversation. And that, I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit, but that's okay. That's the mindset that you want. That's what you want your organization to be, is that people are not intimidated by having people in the room that's smarter than them. You want people who know more than they do to be, and that sounds crazy, right? How can I be the leader if I have people in the room that know more than I do? Because, go ahead.
You should always have those people on your team and in your group who know something other than what you do, because it makes you stronger. You have those that have strengths in your opportunities, where you have your strengths so that you can mingle ideas and be a better team.
It's just as strong as your team. The leader is only as strong as the team.
Strong as the weakest link. So if you have weak links, you have to either grow them or coach them up or coach them out. One of the two, right? But you have to, but as a leader, you have to be willing. But here's the thing, as a leader, it's okay if somebody knows more than you do. Do they know more than you do in everything? Maybe, maybe not. Are you afraid of that? And most people are. Most people are afraid to have people around them that are stronger. And when you do that, it limits who? If you're the leader, you are the leader. You're the key influencer. So don't be intimidated by that. But if you have a growth mindset and you continue to empower people, what we say about empowering change, people will get motivated. People will get hungry. People will start going back to school. People start learning. People start doing research. People start asking. And if you don't, that's when they pass you. That's when they jump up ahead of you. You keep growing and they keep growing, and you lift your lid so that they have room to grow. Create that culture of continual learning. The last two are literally mission critical for leaders. Hold people accountable. If you're going to lead through change, you have to hold people accountable. Last night, at the teaching of this, it was last night, I spoke to a group of young people, and I would love to see if you guys have a good definition. What's your definition of accountable?
Set on expectations and judge or monitor their growth through those expectations.
Expectations, good word. Anyone else? If you're going to hold somebody accountable, you have to know what accountability means, right? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to be accountable?
Communication, I was like transparency.
Yeah, you're right. Communication, transparency, responsibility, follow up. Yeah, all of it. And Mindy nailed it. Accountability is someone who is accountable. They're living up to an established and expected behavior, attitude, or performance. And if a leader is going to implement change and he does not set expectations of those, then he can't hold anybody accountable. And when change happens, what's one of the first things people want to do? Quit. Because it's hard, it's difficult, it's frustrating. All of those are realities of change. Change is uncomfortable. And so if you as a leader do not hold people accountable to the established, expected behavior or performance level, then you will see people out there slowly breaking your team down. And when you're not around, someone going, this doesn't make sense. We can't do this. Most people think accountability is about whose behavior though. Huh?
Leaders.
Well, okay, leaders, that's true. Who else? Most people don't think it's about the teams. Most people think it's about them. Because people go, well, I did what I was supposed to do. And they think if they hold themselves accountable, that's where it starts, right? Most people will make a statement. If you were to say, are we accountable? Their response would be, I am. You're not really accountable if you're not accountable to yourself and to those around you. And holding them what? Accountable. Okay. One of the big things that happens a lot of times is when you walk away, what happens to your team? Do they perform at the same level? Accountability. If you have people on your team who are accountable to the change, when you walk away and someone comes up and says, man, I told you this wasn't working, Yes, it will. You just have to give it time. That person is accountable to you, to themselves, and to the team. That is your responsibility as a leader to build that type of culture. But it starts with you. King David, anybody heard the story of King David? King David ended up having an affair with Bathsheba. But most people always talk about that story. But it all started because of his lack of accountability to his men. It says when kings go off to war, King David stayed home. So you be accountable, and then you build that accountability down to your team. I think it's the second most important of a team. Now, if you're leading just yourself and one other person, it's not as important. But if you have a team, it's the second most important thing, because that will allow negativity to spread. It will allow backbiting. It will allow division. It just, when you don't hold people accountable, it just gives way to so much. And then the last thing is inclusive. Inclusive. As a leader, when you're going to communicate change, inclusivity is mission critical. Why? Because first of all, if you as a leader don't think through how it's going to impact from the top of the organization to the bottom, you're going to lose people. Now, it doesn't mean that they change, you change your mind because some group along the way disagrees. But if you don't think about how it impacts them, let me give you a great example. And this is just a fun thing. When I was in marketing for Bob Baumhauer, I had to actually work every position in the restaurant, from cook to hostess to server to front of the house, back of the house, every position. I had to prep the salads. I had to prep everything. And when I came out with a promotion, I would have to sit down and go, okay, if we come up with this promotion, how does it impact the phone lines? How does it impact the greeter at the door? How does it impact the server? And I would go through every single one of them. One of the craziest things that you think about this, what's the busiest eat out day of the year? Mother's Day. Mother's Day. Because nobody wants their mom to cook, right? They want to bless mom, so they take mom out to eat. When they take mom out to eat, it's already going to be a long what? Wait. But we always want to do something what? Special for mom. One of the things that makes it even worse is when people don't think through what's going to, oh, this is going to be a really pretty, it's going to be really good, but they don't think about the kitchen and how long it's going to take. The average ticket time, we had an average ticket time and said that average ticket time was 3.5 minutes. But this meal takes 5 minutes. Doesn't seem like that big a deal, right? Except for you just did that, you just took your ticket time up 1.5% or 1.25% or whatever it is on the busiest day of the year. So if 3 people order that, that's now how many minutes? Right? Where before you could serve those 3 people in under 10. Or just, right under 10. And then you start doing that all day long. What happens? Yeah, but change. It was a great change in the sense of it's a great meal, but you didn't think of everybody. Well, when you're rolling out change in your organization, the same thing can happen. I was talking to Jennifer Naves, and I had never thought about this, except for she's over the ops center. And I thought, we were talking about calls and call volumes, and I said, and you can tell I was like, oh my goodness, when we run a marketing promotion, we've never really thought about the call center. I haven't, others may have, but yesterday I thought, oh my God, if we run a credit card promotion, they need to be thinking, how many people do we have in the credit card queue? In March or April, when we roll out a HELOC promotion, probably gonna get more HELOC questions and fewer credit card questions. We need to make sure that we're communicating, because it's possible that they could have a downturn in their experience, HELOC people or credit card people or whatever. And it just had not crossed my mind that we were having this conversation about handling calls and all of that. So you see what I'm saying? So being inclusive to your entire team when you're making changes is the most important. But the other reason I talked about the negative side, what's the positive side for that?
You're the same communicator.
Same communication, that's good. What else? What do you think? I'm getting close to wrapping up. Man, I'm doing good today, considering the fact that we had a little siesta in the middle of the recording. But think about this for a second. Who in here has worked at the same job, the same place your whole life? Okay. Who in here has worked with the people right next to you in the same job at the same place? Your whole life.
Oh, no.
All right? None of us. So we all have different what? Perspectives, experiences, knowledge, wisdom, skills, talents. So if I just intentionally exclude someone because I don't know anything about them, or I've not seen them, I could be cutting out someone that actually could bring value. Like, how many of you all know that I used to sell computer equipment and data equipment? I was a guy that connected when you guys were trying to figure out technology, and some of you little babies, I mean, I was teaching people how to connect their location in Selma to their location in Montgomery without it costing them anything, because before that it cost them. They had to pick up the phone, or they were using the little, y'all remember, you know. And how many of you have heard of ATM? Well, I remember when I came here, ATM meant asynchronous transfer mode. Here it means something different. You see what I'm saying? So there's, all of us have all these different experiences and things that we can bring to the table that if we're not careful by not being inclusive, we miss that. And you know, we had some sensitivity training a few weeks back, and I showed, I think it was Jennifer. Since we're neighbors, we talk a lot.
We do.
Yeah. But I said one of my biggest disappointments was when the team as a whole didn't fully grasp the different levels and the need for level playing fields. And all the level playing field means is someone comes to the plate to bat, and some have already had their own bat that they've used for the last 10 years. Others come and they don't even have a bat. So it's not wrong to give them a bat if you want them to be a part of your team. There's others who come to the plate and they don't have a helmet. It's not wrong for you to give them a helmet. But if you don't even let them get to the plate because they don't have a bat and they don't have a helmet because of where they've been, you may miss out on somebody that may be the greatest hitter that's ever put a helmet on and a bat in their hands. So it's our responsibility as leaders, as we go to seek through and lead through change, that we take time to value our entire team and all of the skill sets. And sometimes that means taking some time to ask questions. So I wrap up with, remember, it's about inspiring people through connected purpose. I said all of that for you to say, to close with this thought. If you have change, do not make change in a vacuum. Do not make change about numbers, about rational thought, or just results. inspire people by connecting them with the purpose of the change. If you'll do that, you'll move from that. You'll always have the innovators. You'll always have the early adopters, but you will take those people, the group that you can move the most are the late adopters. If you communicate enough, a lot of those late adopters will move into the moderate to early adopter field. And if you can get to 15, 18%, change begins to happen. And that is the tipping point. So lead through change, inspire people through purpose. Thank you. Questions? Comments? Don't leave without me signing you guys.
Roll call. I'll do it.
First. All right, thanks everybody that's online. Make sure you send me that email.
Yes, sir.